Hey, check out my new knife. It's the Benchmade Bug Out. It's a nice ultra-light knife. You gotta get yourself a real knife. Whoa! Yeah. Amateurs. Hey, bud, what'd you say? Amateurs! So let's just compare the two real quick. Standard Kabar USMC model, and this is the Kabar big brother. So literally the big brother of the Kabar. It's just a lot bigger. The Kabar, standard Kabar, comes with a 7-inch blade. This is around like a 9-inch blade. So you're getting a larger blade, not only longer but wider too. Now, if you look at the blade, there actually are some differences. It's not just a scaled up version. Clip point is similar on them. And on the standard Kabar, you have the fuller here with a flat back. And on here, there's no fuller on the blade. And you do actually get some serrations. Yeah, between the two, the blade is a lot bigger. And when you hold them, the balance actually of the standard Kabar is a lot better, in my opinion, just for, wielding. Something about these Kabars that everybody knows about is the stick tang on them. A lot of people call them rat tail tangs, and that's actually not the case. They're not rat tail tangs. A lot of people refer to them, though, as that. They're actually just stick tangs. For me, the stick tang of these knives are not a problem because these aren't trying to be heavy-duty survival knives, full tang, full giant piece of metal like a Kabar Becker is, or an SC knife is. Those knives are amazing, and they're just stronger than these for survival applications. But these knives, they're not trying to necessarily just be an indestructible knife. What makes these knives good is that they are designed with combat in mind. A fighting knife. That's pretty much what these were made for initially, and you can use them as utility/survival knives, with the exception that you're not gonna abuse the knife too much, and it'll serve you well. And the stick tang actually helps with the combat. If you look throughout history, most weapons are going to have rat tail tangs or thin stick tangs, and that's because it helps with the balance of the weapon. And when you do pick up the Kabar, you notice that the balance is very, very good, especially in a classic fighting style grip. Now, I bring up the stick tang because what's funny is, although the Kabar Big Brother is much bigger as a knife, from here down is the exact same. The weak point of these two knives, the strength, is pretty much exactly the same. If you look on the standard Kabar, you'll see at the guard, you can kind of tell where the tang goes off. It basically goes off a 90-degree angle, which honestly isn't the best design because that provides stress points there. But if you look at the tang, you'll see right in the middle of the pommel that is the thin stick tang. Now that is that's pretty much how thick the tang is all the way up. So it is one solid piece of metal, but it's just that tiny, tiny piece running down. And if you look at the Big Brother, the handle is actually the same size. The guard's bigger and thicker, but the handle is actually the same size. And would you know it, you look down at the tang, and on the palm, in the middle of the pommel, you'll see the tang is again a stick tang, so that are about the same size. So even though the Big Brother is scaled up quite a bit, you're not really gaining strength. You're going to gain strength in the blade because the blade itself is going to be just bigger, more material. So it's going to be harder to break that portion, but really where they break is down where the blade meets the handle at the guard, and the strength is about the same between the two. So this is the out-of-the-box sharpness. Let's see. Yeah, very good. Lined paper, right? It's harder to cut than printer paper, so this is pretty impressive. Pretty sharp. There's something cool about these leather handles. I like these leather handles a lot. I love leather handled things, leather sheaths, and wood tools, because those are organic materials. They provide an aspect of stewardship, and that's pretty nice. But on these two Kabars, I bought them a couple years apart. The leather is a different color. That's just cool to see, like the variances in the leathers from time to time. This one's a little bit darker, and this one is lighter. Now the leather on this handle, it came really dry. It was basically cracking, and it felt real dry. So I went ahead and put on some leather oil. I just have Obanoff's leather oil. It's pretty good stuff. So I soaked in a bunch of that oil, and then I used also Obanoff's leather preservative, which is more of a paste. And so the leather oil is going to hydrate that leather, and the paste is going to protect it basically from the elements and water and all that stuff. Same thing with this one I've done, and the sheath too. Now the sheath is just absolutely ridiculous on this knife. I mean, it's a giant knife, but the standard Kabar is already kind of a big knife to carry around. Look at the difference in the size of the sheaths. It's just crazy. But again, same thing. I put leather oil on the sheath and then rub some of that leather paste, and the sheath's nice and protected. So yeah, you can see the standard Kabar sheath, or the standard USMC Kabar. It's marked with USMC. It's marked USMC because that's, the model it is. This one is just marked Kabar, that's it. Now something actually interesting about the blade, and when I initially got it, I was a little bit confused. Why? Because I've had Kabars before, and usually on one side they print out the model number and USA. On this one, it's stamped Kabar, and on the back, it's USMC. And that's because this is the USMC model. But on the other ones, like the 1211, which is the black one with Craton handle, it's stamped 1211, which is the model number, and the words USA. I mean, not words, letters USA. On this side, on the Big Brother, it's Kabar, and on the other side, there's nothing. And when I looked it up, I saw other Kabar Big Brothers with USA stamped on the side, and come to find out they don't actually stamp Kabars anymore with the model number and USA. And I think it has something to do with where they're sourcing the steel. I'm sure they're still made in the USA, but I think they're sourcing the steel from a different country. I think Germany was where I heard. Don't take my word on that, though. You can reach out to Kabar and find out for yourself. But I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. But they're not stamping USA on the blade steel anymore, which is a bummer. So that kind of makes older Kabar models more collectible now, I guess. Wow, look at that, one swipe, some bamboo. That went in the dirt a little bit. It's got dirt on it, but look how clean that cut is. That K-bar's got a lot of weight behind it. You could use this thing as a spear. Yeah, the standard K-bar is a lot smaller when you compare it to the Big Brother. But personally, I think the standard K-bar feels a lot better in the hand. It just feels super balanced, and and maneuverable. The Big Brother Kabar, it feels a lot more front heavy. I mean, you can still move it around quick, but it's just not as maneuverable. I mean, this thing feels so light and so well balanced. It's like an extension of your hand, basically. And this, you really feel the weight out front because of that just giant blade. But between these two, which one would be the better one to go with? Well, you know what? I think the standard Kabar is just fine. It's honestly a big knife, and the Big Brother is just kind of like, it's just ridiculously big. I mean, there are practical uses for it, though. I mean, these knives would both be good for self-defense. One of the things that I think about when I see the Kabar Big Brother is if you're hog hunting, you know, one of those hogs gets on you, or you're just dispatching them, this knife would do damage. Basically anywhere the blade goes, it's going to be, you know, a lethal hit probably, just because of the size of the blade. I mean, you can get the job done with the Kabar, but you're getting 2 extra inches of reach, and because the blade's thicker, you're getting a larger, you know, wound channel there. And you know, there's serrations on the back of this too, so that can help for other damage. So, you know, they're both practical in their own uses, but carrying these as just standard belt knives, this is a little bit big. This one is a lot more doable. Also, this one is super heavy. It's like a pound. Just having a 1 pound knife on your hip, I mean, that's kind of crazy, you know, carrying that thing around all day. It's a lot of weight. So, like I said, this one feels so much lighter after this one that I would just go with this one probably every single time. Like I said, unless I was maybe hog hunting, I might bring this one just for some fun. Of course, this is bamboo. It's pretty soft material, but it carves it nicely. Now this, of course, comes with Kabar's 1095 Crowvan steel. 1095 is not a terrible steel. There's a couple aspects where it lacks, but it's got a couple good features too. So 1095 as a steel, it's pretty tough. Usually it's treated to a lower HRC. It's very tough, especially at a lower HRC, so you probably won't have them just breaking on you. That's why a lot of survival knives like SE, Becker, they use 1095. The Kabar, it also uses the 1085. It's also going to have that toughness. Like I said, though, that weak point is at the tang, so you have to keep that in mind, because if this knife is going to break, it will be right at the guard where the tang meets the blade, because that is where these knives always break. So keep that in mind. It's very tough 1095, but don't think you could just beat on this knife as much as you want, because you do have to be careful about that tang. But the blade itself, 1095 is tough in the sense that it's not chipping out. If it does get damaged, the edge gets damaged, it's going to just roll over. If that's, you know, the case, it's very easy to sharpen that back out rather than sharpen out a big chip. So 1095 is very good at that. Something that 1095 is not good at is going to be rust. So it's very prone to rust. So if it gets wet, it's going to rust on you. If it's exposed to the elements a lot, it's going to rust on you. So as long as you keep the wipe down when it gets wet and apply some oil here and there, or, you know, put a little patina on it, it's not going to rust too bad. But 1095 is one of the steels that are very, very prone to rust, and you have to keep that in mind when you're taking care of your blades. Another downside of 1095 is that the edge retention just isn't great. It's pretty low for edge retention, but with that comes sharpenability. So 1095, if it's heat treated well, it will hold an edge for a decent amount of time, and Kabar do treat their 1095 pretty well. SE also treats their 1095 really well, you know. So I've been impressed in the past with 1095. It does hold an edge pretty well. It's just not as high as like some super steels and stuff like that, but, you know, doesn't hold an edge as long. But the benefit, it's a very easy steel to sharpen, and that's why I think it's such a popular knife for survival, not only because it's strength, but because it's very easy to sharpen. It's very serviceable in the field, and I think that's why it's a steel that's used very often. Anyways, guys, that's the Kabar Big Brother. So I thought it was just a cool knife. When I ordered it and I got it in the mail, I'm like, what the heck, man, why did I even get this? But it's a really cool knife. It's just like kind of a cool thing to show people, like, hey, check this out, check this Kabar out. Yeah, it's just big, but I wasn't even aware that they made this knife until a couple months ago. Apparently they've been making them for like about 10 years now, but it's pretty cool. So like the video if you thought it was enjoyable. Subscribe for future content, and I'll see you next time.